Welcome to Spider-Verse Minute, the tri-weekly podcast where we watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 1 minute at a time. I'm Sean Slater.
And I'm his sister Caroline.
And today we're opening minute 39 with Peter B comparing himself to Peter Parker and ending a minute later with Peter and Miles falling into the snow.
I feel like there should be clarification. It's an unconscious Peter B.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like that. Just a reminder, he's unconscious at this moment. I have titled this minute Cemetery Chase.
Yeah, it is a short chase through the cemetery, but a chase nonetheless.
Before we get to the chase, I want to talk about two big laughs I had, and then something that we talked about in a previous minute that actually gets clarified in this minute. The two big laughs is, so if you remember, the last minute ends with Peter B saying, "I'm dead," picks up this minute with, "and blonde."
Yeah.
Which just made me laugh. But then the next one is when he was talking about, I was like, so fit and handsome. He was like looking in the mirror and he lifts his mask and it's just completely beaten up and destroyed. And I'm like, I can't with this. This is hilarious.
Yeah.
To me. Like, they know how to do their comedy. The thing I want to talk about, that we talked about in a previous minute, that actually gets cleared up here, is we talked about we weren't sure where MJ's speech was. Like, we weren't sure if it was City Hall or if it was at the church or where it was. Well, it was at the church.
Yeah, I had mentioned that, like, when I first saw that, or when I saw that for the notes, I was like, oh yeah, it's at the church. But then, like, looking at it, it's like there wasn't really any clear reasons to believe that, and I probably believed that because I saw it at the church.
Yeah, like we saw it later at the church. Yeah,
yeah, and so yeah, that watching this I was like, oh yeah. And one thing to note about the crowd down there is that they're all individually, like, the crowd is a group of individuals that they rendered and not just like blobs.
Oh my gosh, that's insanity.
Yeah, it's becoming a bit easier as computers are becoming more powerful, but like for older movies, a lot of times they would just like render sort of blobs or draw like blobs to indicate people, but
or dots.
Yeah, they're still the same people that were in the crowd
One
earlier.
thing I didn't think of checking, and now I kind of wish I did, is I wonder if you can like see Miles sneak through the crowd at all. I doubt it, but that would be a cool thing.
Yeah, I don't think so because it's still, it's like the middle of her speech.
Yeah, so I'm like, I wonder if you could see him.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool though.
I do like how they kind of bring that serious tone back in a bit. Where it's like, I have a feeling the thing that brought me here is the thing that got him killed.
Yeah, and then he's got clothing somehow. Like,
yeah, he's got sweats and a jacket on now, and it's like, okay, you look homeless. Where did you get these from?
Yeah, did he just dig them out of the trash can? I mean, that would make sense if considering his mismatched shoes, but
right,
still,
maybe he went to a shelter or something.
Yeah.
The next thing I just want to mention, because I do really appreciate how they do this, is so we were just in this flashback for 2 minutes, and what I really appreciate, something that they did was, so the end of the flashback is when Peter B says, "You want to know what happened next?" "Me too." And they show a quick flash of just of like what we saw before the flashback happened. Miles shocking him and figuring out and repeating the line, "Who are you?"
Yeah, and this comic flipping, like the comic flipping transition, was one of the later things that they like got down as a like way to do and even an idea. And I think it works really well as like the transitions between the flashbacks and like present day, instead of going like and having like, you know, a sepia tone over everything and like suddenly it's gone.
Oh my gosh, did you imagine that with this? That'd be so weird. Anyway.
Yeah, but I think using the comic transition into the stories and out of the stories is really good.
it fits the movie's like aesthetic in so many ways.
Yeah.
It almost completes it in many ways too.
Yeah, it's just another one of those, the language of comics being brought in a very clever way.
It almost feels like you're a person reading a comic and you're like, wait, what's his backstory? So you flip back to it just to get a quick refresher and then flip back to where you were. Like, okay, this is where I was.
Yeah, and then we're back in the present with 2 police officers coming up and yelling at Miles.
I'm like, who's there?
Yeah, and I want to know why they're there. Like, why did they know to show up? He wasn't doing anything really bad other than, I guess, being in the cemetery at night. And maybe the cemetery is supposed to be closed at night.
I think it's supposed to be closed. A lot of cemeteries around here, well, I don't know around here, but I know quite a few cemeteries will have like certain hours and they'll close, and you're not allowed in after that.
But like the gate was open. It's not like he jumped the fence. He just walked through the gate.
Did we see him walk through the gate?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, not good security. It's still closed. Still not supposed to be there.
But yeah, I want to know, like, how did they get there? That's the story I want. It's the story of those officers. Just them out on patrol and then them showing up.
I wonder if they saw, like, the shock and thought maybe something happened.
It could also be, it is a male and female officer.
Mm-hmm.
And in the alternate scene, it was a male and female officer that picked up Peter. So maybe they were trying to, like, follow him. Maybe it's could be left over from that, of the 2 of them.
Maybe.
Yeah, that would be a neat little thing. But then also, like, that leads into my second question is, why was Peter just hanging out there? Like, has he been waiting at the church since the speech? Or, is he following Miles?
I don't feel like he's following Miles. I don't know. Maybe he's just been there since the speech.
He's been he's been trying to figure out how to get down, and he's just like, enough snow's finally fallen, I can jump down.
What, here's what I'm going to say. He was going to visit his grave to see if it was really him. Like, he was like in shock, like he's going to go visit his own grave. But people kept showing up with the gifts. We saw how many gifts were there.
Yeah.
Like, there was just so many people. They had to have formed a line, or else it would have been chaos otherwise. So he's just been there all day, waiting for people to just be gone. And then they're finally gone long enough. And he's like, I think maybe he was visiting Peter. Then he heard some grunts, so he ran back up. And then he heard, like, Mr. Parker, and he's like, wait a second, that's me. I'm going to talk to this kid, see what he knows.
I mean, it is at the funeral. Like, that. Of course he's going to say Mr. Parker. It's Peter Parker's gravestone.
He said there was lines there around, too, like, Mr. Parker, that thing you wanted me to do. I was like, wait, I'm Mr. Parker. There's a thing I wanted you to do?
It could
That's
also be
my theory.
I bet it's even less that and
Probably.
more just his spidey sense went off, and he's like, I gotta go talk to that kid.
Yeah.
Because we also noticed that, like, Miles' spidey sense goes off, and his probably isn't as well. Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't recognize his as often.
Yeah. See, I like my theory.
Yeah, and I like how Miles tries to run, but then gets yanked by the... First, okay, Miles is hilarious because he puts his hands up and then tries to run away with his hands still up. Like, he doesn't put them down to run, he's just running away with them up.
Yeah,
and then the web catches him and he falls on the ground.
I love the aerial view that they have of him dragging the body too. I don't know why, I think it's very amusing.
Yeah, and they were saying in the animator's commentary how they used this shot as a, like, reference shot for the other animators to be like, hey, this is the I guess the different ways you can ink things and, like, draw the lines. Partly because this is I believe this would probably still be considered part of the same cemetery scene that was done, like one of the first ones done, and so it's just different, like it was one of the earlier shots done, so they could use it as like, hey, this is how you draw different things this way.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Going to the police officers and then talking more about the scene, just because I don't really know how to smoothly transition.
Yeah.
Is I love some of the lines that are yelled. One of them is "drop the body."
Yeah.
Which just sounds so much worse. It's like, oh, oh, okay.
No, he's not dead, he's just unconscious.
He's not dead, he's just unconscious, I think. Miles doesn't know. And he goes to shoot the web and he like swings it and then he goes, see ya, officer's really cocky.
Yeah.
But doesn't swing the whole way and he's like, oh man, and just swims right back.
Yeah, like he forgets to he doesn't release the web shooter, and so he's just still stuck there, coming back like a pendulum.
And it's like, oh man.
Yeah, and I love how like right at the peak of it, like his eyes go like, you know, like worried, like, oh no, I'm falling back. I'm not supposed to be doing
it's like,
this.
oh no, no.
Yeah.
This was not part of the plan. I do have to say, I love... So the animation in this moment, I noticed, is very rubbery.
Yeah.
Which is a weird way to describe animation. Like, I've used that to describe to people animation who aren't as big as animation fans as I am. And they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, wait here. And normally, I don't like that kind of animation if it's not, like, part of the animation aesthetic. Like, if that's not what they're going on. And this is very realistic. I like it here, though, because I think it's done in a very good way. Like, it's rubbery, but it's not overly rubbery, and, like, you don't see the distorted faces that often.
Yeah.
That it's like, jarring. Like, I'm probably gonna get some hate for this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Anastasia, as much as I love the movie, is a good example of bad rubbery animation, in my opinion. And it's great animation, but it tries so hard to still be very grounded and very almost Disney-esque, which doesn't have that rubbery animation in like a lot of its princess movies, and that's clearly what it's kind of emulating after. But there are many parts in Anastasia where the faces are very rubbery and they kind of distort, because it was done by Fox, which they're used to doing more rubbery animation, which nothing bad with that, but when you're trying to emulate a more Disney-esque style, that animation isn't as rubbery. So it's very jarring when you're, like, seeing this very Disney thing, but then all of a sudden the face just gets really, like, extended for some reason in movement. And most people don't notice it, but I notice it quite often, and it makes it hard for me to watch that movie.
Yeah.
Like, I love the movie, but I get jarred by the animation quite a bit. I'm like, that's not how you're supposed to move. That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. The last thing I just wanted to bring up is the background music for this bit. It starts off with just they sound like bongos to me. I don't know if they actually are.
I know what you mean. Yeah, they kind of do.
But it starts off with some like bongos going, like just the bongos being like, okay, it's time to go quick. And then it moves into it adds some scratching and like turntablism style music, and I really like that. Like I like when I like songs with scratching in it, and I think they've mixed the two really well together. Of just like, hey, this is a like, it feels very like you need to get moving, like a rushy like it's time to rush song.
Yeah.
And I think this is my favorite song from the like original soundtrack and not the lyrical soundtrack.
Yeah, this is definitely a personal favorite from the score as well. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's all I have for this minute. Do you have anything else?
Nope, that was the last thing I had.
Okay, well, thank you all for listening. If you want to reach out to us, you can catch us on Twitter at SpiderVerseMin, M-I-N. If that doesn't work, you can also... Well, that doesn't work. If you don't want to reach us there, you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at SpiderVerseMinute, or you can shoot us an email at podcast@spiderverseminute.com. Thanks for listening.
Bye.